Good evening and welcome to the grand finale of the Kootenay Pitch Competition. My name is Steve Fisher and I have the honor of being your host here tonight. We're coming to you from the CAST headquarters here in the beautiful Nelson Innovation Center. The Kootenay Association for Science and Technology, commonly known as CAST, has led our region's economic development through tech and innovation. We're the only nonprofit tech association serving the entire Kootenay region. Joining me here is Melanie Fontaine, who is the manager at CAST. Melanie, can you please fill our audience in on how CAST impacts our community?
Sure thing. Thanks, Steve. So CAST has been around since 1998, delivering programs aimed at supporting the science and tech communities. We're here to connect people and businesses and are dedicated to uplifting the tech and science community across the Kootenays, driving innovation and inclusive economic development. We also manage this incredible space, the Nelson Innovation Center. Sadly, with COVID-19, we've been forced to close our doors to the public, but we're really excited to be in the planning stages of turning this space into the tech and innovation hub for the Kootenays. It won't be long before we're welcoming everyone back in the doors.
Thanks, Melanie. As for me, I'm an entrepreneur in residence at CAST, so I'm fortunate enough to see firsthand the impact we're making on our local tech scene. But hey, we couldn't do it without the immense support from you, our tech community, as well as our incredible partners and sponsors. I'd like to give a big thank you to the Nelson District Credit Union, who strive to preserve the prosperity and spirit of local businesses to maintain the Kootenay identity and help foster a culture of economic resilience and passion. Embrace local today with all of us at NDCU. And Greenlight Solutions, who operates at the forefront of the cannabis transformation. With an innovation mandate and a drive for manufacturing excellence, GLS stands out by pairing veteran technology leadership with traditional cannabis expertise. GLS subsidiaries span the cannabis sector, including Inlight Technology, Lo-Fi CBD, and Nelson-based cultivator and processor, Woody Nelson. What a great name. Not to mention our long-standing partner, the Columbia Basin Trust, who supports the ideas and efforts of the people all across the Columbia Basin. And thanks to Shaw TV, who's broadcasting this pitch event on Shaw Community Spotlight. We really appreciate it. I'd also love to thank all of our judges who volunteered their time and shared their wisdom. And then there are the 9 brave entrepreneurs who have worked so hard and put it all on the line by competing in our previous events. And now we are down to 3. So here's what's happening tonight. We have our 3 go-getter entrepreneurs pitching their innovative businesses to a panel of 8 esteemed judges. They are all very unique and are here representing their hometowns of Creston, Nelson, and Fernie. We have Adele Hills from Sacral Solutions, Sami Majadla from CertiCraft, and Kyle Hamilton from Sucre Interactive. All 3 of these entrepreneurs have earned their right to be here and have shown us how innovative and dedicated they are in reaching big goals for their companies. Each of the contestants will have 10 minutes to pitch their business, followed by a 10-minute Q&A period with our incredible panel of judges. At the end of the show, we will announce our winner of this grand finale event. And what do they win? $2,500 in cold hard cash, 3 months of free entry into CAST Venture Acceleration Program, which is a $600 value, an additional $500 to host a staff event, and 5 hours at the Selkirk Technology Access Center, where they will receive technical expertise and specialized equipment access worth $1,000. So a big thank you to our friends at Selkirk College for this sponsorship. Okay, let's get rolling. First up is Adele Hills from Sacral Solutions based in Creston. I had a chance to sit with Adele and ask her some questions. Here's a highlight. So tell us, Adele, how has your company changed and grown over the past year?
Thank you for that question. I would say 2020 is the year we really got started, changing things from initial concept and R&D into getting ready to hit the ground and gain some traction. We finalized our design and supply chain. We expanded our team to support sales and manufacturing. We have had our first presentations, which 6 of them ended in sales. So basically it was 6 presentations and 6 sales. So as we continue to make sales and connections with pretty much each demonstration has been very exciting. In addition to that, in this last year, in fact, just in the last month, we received the medical endorsement from a top orthopedic surgeon, as well as we are just about complete on our Class 1 designation for extended benefits. So those changes have led to a lot of excitement with the team as we're reaching those landmarks. And then in addition, we are preparing right now for a two-pronged approach with the Kickstarter and the top 700 trucking fleets. So I think right now it's the year where we've gained the most traction, and we've noticed landmark changes ourselves rather than just the back end preparation that seems to take forever. So that's really been, I think, groundbreaking for us and how the team is feeling, as well as the excitement we're feeling.
Thanks, Adele. Her company, Sacral Solutions, presents the Spinal Line, an aftermarket seat topper. It's the only product on the market that addresses the entire back pain issue, starting at the root cause. With 6 levels of customization, it can be continuously adjusted to your changing needs as your back health improves. Sacral's been a great company to watch in our Venture Acceleration Program, and I, for one, love any company with a truly passionate leader that is trying to improve people's health. Adele is always inspiring to watch. Over to you, Adele.
Hi, I'm Adele Hills, CEO and founder of Sacral Solutions. 16 years ago, I suffered a back injury. After years of limitations, my experience drove me to the devoted study of functional alignment and rehabilitation. I built the first seat for myself to protect my critical alignment. To date, even with multiple ruptured discs, it enabled me to strengthen, heal, and return to a limitation-free life. Wanting to help others, I developed Sacral Solutions and the Spinal Line. I'd like to tell you a story about a recent product testing. Sean Crump, CEO of Universal Access and a leader within the wheelchair accessibility and infrastructure space, tried the Spinal Line. Because Sean is a quadriplegic, he suffers from muscle spasms and pain every night when he lays down for bed. After using the product for just one entire day, he and his wife both noted a significant reduction in both the pain and intensity of muscle spasms, both in his back and legs. This is exactly why I made the product. Studies show that back pain has risen 54% between 1990 and 2015. It affects 80% of the population by age 50, and it costs $94 billion annually in North America alone. This growing epidemic is preventable. Chronic back pain is less a process of aging, rather has almost everything to do with habitual bad posture. Those who sit to work are at the most risk, as many vehicle and office seats have a concave design that drop and rotate the pelvis down and back and collapse the rib cage and shoulders forward. This disrupts and weakens our core and spinal muscles by continually putting our body in a vulnerable position outside of the safe zone for natural spinal motion. The solution is our Spinal Line. It is a one-of-a-kind posture device that can be used in your vehicle, home, and office to correct the curvatures in your seat that continually force your body into unstable positions. Every person has a unique architecture, and it is critical to provide a product that has customizable adjustability to each person's individual needs and structure. As they use the Spinal Line, they will begin to unlock chronic tight patterns, and their needs will change, and the Spinal Line will continue to adjust to their changing needs. Early studies with the pelvic support showed that up to 85% correction in peak force, pressure points, and contact area. Let me give you an example of how improved alignment has an immediate impact. When little John arrived to test the seat, he was already in such violent pain that he mentioned to me he felt he may throw up. Once he sat in the seat, I told him I normally have people adjust it to their needs, and then I take it away to illustrate the difference between properly supported and without proper support. When I went to take it away, he asked me not to, citing this was the first time in days the pain stopped. This is how well the product works to protect alignment. The market potential. The total available market is the 540 million people globally suffering from back pain. Our beachhead serviceable available market is the 1.3 billion net revenue from the 4.5 million truckers in North America that we will address first.
The serviceable, obtainable market is the 260 million net revenue from the 19.2% of the 867,000 truckers in North America with worker compensation claims for low back pain. After 8 years of looking for an effective spinal support device and collecting a plethora of uninspiring products, I discovered that they are a one-size-fits-all model and are commonly not adjustable to the user, often only focusing to support a single area of the spine. None of them provided me sustainable therapeutic benefits. Lumbar support is the most common back product available. However, studies show that driving with lumbar support further exaggerates the curvature and can promote the development of herniated discs. Former Mayo Clinic physiotherapist Dennis Sacral's research demonstrates that just adding lumbar support will not resolve the issue. In fact, just adding lumbar support can cause harm. Sacral support is the most important feature for preventing herniated discs in the lumbar region. As you can see, there is currently no product on the market like the Spinal Line that support the body and spine with instantaneous adjustability and multi-level customization across the pelvic, lumbar, and thoracic regions of the spine. Our design is easily portable, does not require a power source. It can be taken from vehicle to office or home. It is medically endorsed by a top BC orthopedic surgeon, and it is endorsed by Universal Access Quadriplegic Sean Crump. We have applied for Class 1 medical designation. At the end of October, we will have the 180-day period expire, and we will have notification of the next level. Once that has been approved, we will be able to apply for persons with extended benefits to claim the cost of the product. Spinal Line can be universally implemented across an entire fleet as a perfect solution for preventative and therapeutic measures for back pain. We intend to target both business to business and business to consumer sales. We have just launched in-person sales meetings with fleet owners, safety officers, and medical supply stores, making sales in our first week of demonstrations, including a custom order. Recognizing COVID restrictions and instabilities, we have created an extensive digital media library that can be sent out electronically. This includes marketing materials and handouts, elevator pitch videos focused on the benefits for fleets, such as increased driver retention, lower worker compensation claims, and premiums. We have researched and compiled the top 500 trucking fleets in Canada and the US, categorizing them by province, state, city, size, and contact person. This will enable a rapid and organized approach to market and efficient use of our resources as we head out to give in-person demonstrations and reach businesses electronically. Our next critical milestone will be obtaining large purchase fleet. As we approach business to consumer, we are already preparing a Kickstarter in addition to pop-up stores. Our projected financials year 1 through 5 demonstrate there is a potential revenue of 16.3 million by year 5 and an EBITDA margin of 9.7. Given 16.3 million projected revenue by year 5, you could see a return on investment multiplied by 10 to 17 times. Some of the critical milestones that we've achieved and are moving towards. Fall of 2021, in the last few weeks, we've started demonstrations locally and made sales. Moving into 2022, we have already secured 150,000 in grants moving into that year. We are awaiting the Class 1 designation and also have prepared the patent. We plan to demonstrate in person in trade shows in January 2022, just a few months away. In 2023, we plan to secure more funds for research and development for the next generation unit. Our team, we are a multifaceted, highly motivated team in engineering, finance, and sales and marketing. I'm Adele Hills, CEO and founder, and at Sacral Solutions, we prioritize excellence in company culture, communication, rapid response, continuous improvement, and quality product. To help us achieve our goals, we are seeking 100,000 and strategic partnership in exchange for equity. This will help finance general and administrative costs, key hires, product development, marketing and travel, production and manufacturing. I would like to thank you for your time. We are eager to meet for further discussions for the next generation unit of back support.
Wow, great pitch, Adele. I found myself sitting up straighter as you were speaking there. I think just listening to you helps my spine. Okay, now we're into the question and answer portion of our show. And as we talked about before, the judges have 10 minutes to ask our presenter questions and put them in the hot seat. So first up, let's go with Tyler Rice.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Adele. I found myself standing for your presentation, so thank you so much. With regards to your projections and the money that you're raising with this round, with 47% going to G&A, how are you seeing the supply chain for the development of the product or the inventory that you're going to sell to hit the targets, just given the COVID situation that we're in?
Okay, so can you ask that again? So how are we feeling that we can have the supply chain deliver the product to us in a timely manner? Is that correct?
Yeah, so let's say that you receive that level 1 medical certification and you have hockey stick type of growth. How are you going to be able to deliver the manufacturing or the product upon success of launching your marketing campaign?
Okay, as it is right now, we are manufacturing and assembling everything in Victoria. So we have out of country items coming only from one place in Europe. And so far that has had the fastest response time. In fact, for that, it's never been over a week. And then any of the product coming out of the States, we use Sea Wings, which brings it over from Seattle straight into Victoria. So because our team is assembling and building it in Victoria, I feel that we have much more control over our supply chain and our potential for delivery.
Thank you.
And we also have, sorry about that, we also have a local seamstress as well. We have the capacity to loop back to larger moving forward, but we also have local here in British Columbia.
Okay, great. Thanks, Adele. That sounds good. How about over to Beck from Traction on Demand?
Hi, Adele. Great to see you again.
Thank you.
I'm curious, it's been a couple of months since we've seen you. What were some of the biggest changes you may have made, either to your business plan or any of your product in those past couple of months?
So for the product changes, we improved the manifold and it is actually a smaller manifold. So there was an improvement there. And other than that, it was really preparing for and getting out to be able to give in-person demonstrations. And I think that was our biggest change. And as I had mentioned in the PowerPoint, that in the first week, we already made sales in the first week. And then the same thing replicated again in the second week. So for me, I had a sense of nervousness around that. It was going to be my first time, you know, where the rubber meets the road and you see if the product is going to sell. And even at our current price point, I was just blown away when we were actually requested for a custom order. So we jumped on that immediately. And even though it costs a little bit more for the tooling to get going with a custom order, we felt it was well worth our time. So that really gave me a boost of confidence. So besides sales, to have somebody willing to pay extra for something to be customized on it. So that was pretty much the change, just getting out there and getting that real world feedback.
Awesome. Thanks, Adele.
Thank you.
Yeah, great, Adele. Awesome to hear the traction there. How about over to Dave from NRCR app?
Hey, thanks. Great to meet you, Adele. I'm kind of new to the program here, but great pitch. I think you did a great job. I think I'd like to understand a little bit more about the amount of money you're trying to raise and what kind of runway that gives you, as well as kind of from a growth perspective, like getting to 16 million in revenue implies you're going to make 2,000 unit sales a month. And do you think you have the labor supply in Victoria to meet that? So kind of a two-part question. One is,
What supply in Victoria, please?
Oh, just in terms of like your ability to produce and assemble 2,000 units per month at your target revenue
Okay.
in Victoria, and then also just how much runway does $100,000 get you?
The runway will, as we've projected now, will take us over 12 months. And we wanted to keep it lower right now to protect our position and our cap table. And we wanted to be able to loop back later into another round if necessary at the right strategic timing. And then the question about meeting those amount of sales and implying, you know, up to 2,000 per month, that we're doing it locally right now, but we also are in discussions with another company in Victoria. They are securing manufacturing space for themselves, and we're in negotiations and discussions with them about how that would look if we end up sharing space with them. So that conversation is on the table for us right now, and that would give us increased capacity for how many units per month, and again, keep it local and keep it where the majority of the staff already is working and operating. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think most like as a follow-up a little bit would be like looking specifically at the trucking industry and the complete, I guess, kind of it's showing up as a major supply chain issue in North America, and definitely a huge opportunity for you. Do you kind of already have plans in place for how to address the market demand? You know, should you be able to get that kind of medical qualification to be able to claim it in benefits, which I think will create a glut of orders?
Absolutely. This is really exciting time for us right now. When we received medical endorsement, we also received an offer and commitment on his part to also assist us further. So when he gave us the endorsement, it was instantaneous when he tried the product. And then he said, "What else can I do to help?" And I was stunned, absolutely stunned. And I said, well, you know, we're doing class 1 medical, you know, designation. We are almost complete. The October 28th is the completion for the 180 wait day period. And he said, oh, I'll help with that too. So it's really been fascinating to see how many people locally, especially in the medical community, have popped up and said, we'll help and we'll introduce you to our network. So that's actually what's happening for us moving into November, is we will be in Calgary filming at Universal Access with the CEO in the wheelchair space. We will be filming in the Kootenays with the orthopedic surgeon and his group there. So I'm feeling quite positive because of all of the support that's coming up and offers of help. So we know we haven't got everything worked out perfectly, and when you never can, but we've tried to lay the groundwork.
Yeah, that's awesome, Adele. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, let's sneak in a couple more questions here. How about a question from Tiffany from Selkirk?
Hi, Adele. Good to see
Hi.
you again. I also was sitting up a bit straighter, so thank you for that. I'm just curious, you mentioned your first week you got a custom order, and you talked a little bit about that, but how do you see that potentially changing your product mix, and how would you be able to keep up with any custom orders with potentially huge standard orders as well? How do you see that working with your flow?
So right now we have a standard unit. We also have a tall unit. Now we have an extra tall for somebody who was 6'8", who requested that, and nothing else changes about the product. So we actually customized taller unit for his stature, but so I don't feel that's going to create a jam for us, because other than that, we also have capacity for a wider unit as well. But we've already built that in the last year, and we already have that into our chain. So I don't feel that there will be a lot more to change or potentially be requested of us for custom in this space. And we have already started negotiations and laying the landscape for some of the custom changes that have been requested by a few physical therapists, as well as in the wheelchair space. They would like an addition added to theirs. And we have a capstone going through at the university in April through August with an entire team that I've used in the past of professors and undergraduates. So we've already are implementing that moving forward in parallel. So one of my current employees will be leading that. So I don't anticipate any more changes in the current space as far as the unit for the trucking industry or the office space. That custom order was just this exceptionally tall person, and we were glad to do it. We want to make everyone happy, but I don't think that we're going to have to go much over 6'8" potential. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, awesome, everyone. That's our 10 minutes there for. That was great, Adele. I loved that imagery. This Kootenay pitch competition has been quite a success. Over 2,600 viewers from across the province have tuned in on our Facebook and YouTube channels, plus countless others have watched the show on Shaw TV's local programming. I know that we couldn't have done this without the amazing support of people like Paul at Volition Advisors. Volition believes that the global startup ecosystem is made stronger through capacity building, training, and coaching opportunities. Their team provides those services through proven programming and trusted delivery partners all around the world. And Tyler at Rice & Co. LLP, which is a modern firm that focuses on owners who want to innovate and who view their accountants as a partner, not just another cost of doing business. Not only did those two donate much needed funding, but they both personally spent time with our competitors to help refine their pitch decks and help those companies become investor ready. And then there's New Ventures BC. They generously granted our KPC winners free entrance into the New Ventures BC competition for 2021. This gave our entrepreneurs a chance to pitch on the provincial stage and have a chance at winning tens of thousands of dollars in prize money, mentorship, and so much more. All right, coming up next is our second contestant, Sammy Majadla from CertiCraft, based in Nelson. I spoke with Sammy about the challenge of raising capital for his company. Yeah, hey Sammy, I know you've been out trying to raise capital for your company in the past, and I would really love to hear your thoughts on what it's like to be pitching to investors and trying to be in that raising capital phase of your company.
Cool. So pitching to investors, it's just a normal conversation. I find, if you're at a pitch event, then you have to share your story, and that can be nerve-wracking sometimes, anxiety-inducing, at least until I get into it, then it feels better. But for most conversations, it's just like a one-on-one kind of pitch, at which point it's just having a normal conversation. So it just depends on who the investor is. For raising capital, I mean, that's just kind of that conversation continuing and figuring out, is there alignment or not? And what we found with CertiCraft is a lot of investors really want you to enter that VC cycle where, they put in money in, they want you to be raising capital another year and a half, 2 years later. That's kind of their expectation. And we've actually seen, which has surprised me, a lot of investors be turned off by the fact that we want to just raise capital once and then hit profitability with that money. That's, it's been surprising just how many people are like, okay, not interested in you anymore about that, which is, for us, that's, we want to be profitable and sustainable. We're not interested in having a Series A, Series B, so on and so forth.
Right. And do you feel you can capture your market and grow your company quickly enough to stay ahead of your competition without additional capital?
Yeah. I mean, the capital we're trying to raise right now is all we feel we need in order to achieve that. And, in some ways we're achieving that right now without that additional capital, but it sure would help to be able to accelerate our growth that much faster with a little bit of capital. And we definitely feel like we can hit profitability with the team that we would grow with that additional capital and not need additional capital beyond that. Could be wrong, but that's what our forecasts and our models and our assumptions are at this point in time.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Sammy. His team is on a mission to help craft cannabis growers transition into and thrive within the newly regulated market. They built the only compliance platform that fully digitizes and automates record-keeping requirements for all cultivators. I have personally spent 2 years working with Sammy and learning from him. He has continually impressed me with his ability to drive his company forward and do it all with a smile on his face. He's an inspiring and driven leader for sure. Let her rip, Sammy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sammy. I'm the CEO of CertiCraft, and we are on a mission to help craft cannabis producers transition into and thrive within the regulated cannabis market here in Canada. We're doing so primarily through a compliance platform that makes the ridiculously challenging reporting requirements super duper easy. And we have proven that we're onto something since we've grown to over $300,000 in annual recurring revenue and an additional $350,000 in booked annual recurring revenue since our launch last fall. And yeah, let's get into it. I want to start by talking about cannabis in Canada. Open. Here we go. That's the right screen. And yeah, so I'm sure you've heard a few different things about cannabis in Canada. You, I'm sure, are aware that 3 years ago, cannabis was legalized in this country. And if you're an investor, you've probably heard some horror stories about companies really struggling, going under, investors getting burned. But there's other things that you probably haven't heard about in relation to cannabis in Canada. For example, all those companies that you've heard horror stories about, they are all pubcos that have zero history in cannabis and quite frankly have no idea what they're doing, no idea what consumers want, and haven't created anything of value. They mostly fall into that top segment in the graphic there. But the cannabis market in Canada is much, much bigger than that. The single most dominant market segment is craft cannabis, and they mostly exist outside of the new regulated legal world. There's well over 50,000 such producers, and consumers are proving with their dollar money that that's the cannabis they want to buy. Within the legal world, one of the only hot and growing market segments is craft cannabis as well. If we look at the rate of people transitioning into the market, and we use the microcultivation license as a proxy for craft cannabis licenses, in 2018, there was one license that was granted. In 2019, there were 14. Last year, there were 109 licenses that were granted. So it is increasing exponentially, but this is still a far cry from the 50,000 total producers that are out there. And so what gives? Why aren't people transitioning? What it really boils down to is that the regulatory burden is really insane. There's, just from the record keeping and reporting side alone, there's thousands of data points that need to be tracked and reported on every single month. There's several binders full of documents that need to be generated and kept every single month. And people, they just can't see themselves doing it. Even though these are the people that fought for decades to legalize cannabis. These are people who are living under stress of living underground, in fear of having their kids taken away from them. Despite all that pressure, they still find it too hard. And the solution is actually pretty simple. It's make it easy. And that's exactly what we do at CertiCraft. Our flagship product is a compliance platform that makes all those record keeping and reporting requirements really, really easy. We are the only easy solution in Canada, and the only solution that fully digitizes and automates all the various compliance requirements for cultivators. In the space that we're in, we do have quite a few different competitors out there, but all of those competitors are focused exclusively on the needs of large-scale corporations. These are corporations that tend to have compliance teams with 4 to 5 full-time staff that can work with software that looks like this because they've got big budgets and a lot of time. And likewise, they can spend hundreds of hours literally every single month manually editing things that the software doesn't do. We saw that there was a huge void and a huge need for small scale producers who are farmers. This makes zero sense for farmers or gardeners. So 3 years ago, we created CertiCraft to fill that void. And our hunches ended up being correct. We've grown through word of mouth and through our user experience to where we are today. And since our post-pilot project launch last year, we have grown now to 42 active customers and 28 pre-orders. Pre-orders being a customer that's in the middle of their license application process, but is contractually committed to using us once they get their license. And yeah, we've done so with a really ridiculously fantastic lifetime value to customer acquisition cost ratio. We're using a lifetime of 2 years in that ratio there, though we expect this to actually increase quite a bit because right now our early pilot project participants, they're all exceeding 2 years now and they're still happy with our system. We've had very, very little churn. And last but not least, we're closing over 60% of the leads that come into our funnel. We've grown this year by over 300%, and since the first round of the Kootenay pitch competition that we won, by over 350%. So we're feeling pretty stoked about where things are at. But I do want to talk for a bit about that 40% of leads that we're not closing. So this past 6 to 8 months or so, there's this thing that keeps happening. We have generally larger companies reach out to us. They tell us, hey, we've heard great things about you from so-and-so. They love your system. Can we see a demo? And so we show them a demo. And their response after seeing the demo is pretty much always unanimous. It goes like this. Holy shit, this is by far the best system we've ever seen. This is so much better than what we use. We want to transition to using you, but we're not going to because you don't have processing or medical sales capabilities. So let me break that last statement down. In the world of licensed cannabis in Canada, 30% of license holders only have what's called a cultivation license, and most of our customers fall into that category. There's a much bigger market segment of producers that have a combination of cultivation, processing, and medical sales. Processing license allows you to package cannabis for consumers and to create derivative products. A medical sales license allows you to circumvent the, quite frankly, terrible recreational supply chain and sell directly to medical patients. And there's hundreds of thousands of these patients in Canada. Last but not least, these companies tend to be bigger, which means they also need a business analytics module. So we're building those three things right now so that we can enter that much bigger market segment here in Canada. We took this vision to the NRC, or jumping ahead here, sorry. If we were to build these modules out, which we are, we would triple the number of license holders that we can work with, and we'd triple the average contract value, which means we'd have a 9-fold increase in our serviceable available markets. We took this vision to the NRC, and they wanted to support us and are contributing $200,000 via IREP right now. We've used that money to hire 4 developers this year and have just hit the development capacity that we need in order to actually realize that vision. Earlier this year, we also hired a storyteller / marketer person who's helped us launch a content marketing campaign that's been a huge part of our growth by over 300%. And rounding out our team are myself and my 2 co-founders. So I'm Sammy. I am the CEO. I went to Harvard on a full scholarship where I got a degree in computer science. I've built 6 different platforms prior to CertiCraft and have had a lot of both successes and failures in the entrepreneurial world that have put me in a great position to lead this team today. We also have Nick, who's our VP of sales. He's done sales and compliance in other regulated industries and has been a he's been politically active as a medical cannabis advocate for many years. Finally got that right. And rounding out our founding team is Giles, who is our VP of engineering. He's led teams at robotics companies and semiconductor factories and is an all-around awesome dude. And we're super excited to have him leading our product development at CertiCraft. Speaking of which, let's talk about our product development timeline. So we talked about where we're at today. We're about halfway through building the first phase of the processing module. And this winter, we expect to release both said first phase of the processing module, as well as our medical sales and business analytics modules. This will lead to both new customers starting to use us that want these features, as well as current customers who want to pay us more money for these additional modules. Next year, we'll be releasing phase 2 of the processing module, which will allow us to work with the full set of that 65% of the market. And with our increased marketing efforts, we expect to be profitable by the middle of next year with a larger team. But wait, there's more. We're thinking more than just, why aren't you going forward? More than just the next year here. There's a huge opportunity in developing a medical sales marketplace that solves the myriad of supply chain issues that exist today in the recreational world. I'm not going to get too much into the details because we don't have time for that. I'd love to talk to you more about it in the future if you're curious, but the summary would be this would greatly increase the profit margins for our customers while leveraging a medical sales module that we're building either way. So yeah, and I guess What we're looking for right now is money to help us accelerate our path to profitability. We are on a path to profitability right now, but we want to hire more people and hit profitability with a larger team faster, adhering to the timeline that we just showed you. And we know we can do it, and we would love to raise $750,000 in an equity round to make that a reality. If you have liked what you've heard here today and want to reach out to chat about anything that you've seen here, there's my email, and I'm all ears. And thank you very much for your time.
Wow, great pitch, Sammy. I love to see that traction in the MRR. Well done.
Thanks,
Okay,
Steve.
you're welcome. Let's get right into the judges. Over to you, Henry.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, Sammy. Yeah, that 300,000 in annual revenue, fantastic. Good for you. Congratulations.
Thanks, Henry.
I'm really, as an investor, I'm really curious about the transferability of your secret sauce, and everything you've built to other industries. That I've got some clients in the ag tech space that are all about this traceability thing for like grain and that sort of thing. Is an investor going to find that you're going to take this thing to other industries at some point, like, I don't know, brewing or ag or such things like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. We developed our software in such a way where 90% of it is all about usability and workflow, about generating reporting, about inventory management, all the different components that's necessary for a compliance platform like this. And only 10% of the code base then applies that technology specifically to cannabis. And we did that deliberately so that we could expand into other industries down the line if it made business sense for us. So I'm not going to say that we will or we won't, just that we have created that possibility on a technical level.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know that. So that's as far as an investor goes, I think that's good news. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Henry. How about over to Nate from Greenlight Solutions?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thanks, Sammy. Great presentation.
Thanks, Nate.
Awesome. Hey, so quick question. So if you were to kind of saturate the market in Canada with what you currently offer, what's the size of that?
So when you say currently offer, are you talking like with these modules that we're planning to complete over the next year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great question. And you know what? I will bring up our deck again, and I'll go over to our total addressable market. Why aren't you going forward? There we go. I'll take my picture away here. So yeah, within Canada, we're estimating that there's 20,000 craft growers that are seriously going to consider transitioning if things actually become straightforward. And with the percentage breakdown of 20% being standard license holders and 80% being micro license holders, we calculate there's a TAM, total addressable market, for just over $330 million in Canada. But we expect that the marketplace actually is going to be a much more significant addressable market that will dwarf what we're doing here with the compliance side of things. And yeah, is this sufficient to answer your question?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Sweet, great. How about over to Sue Ross from Futurepreneur?
Hey, Sammy, good to see you again. And the hard work and commitment that you've demonstrated from the first time we saw you to now is just, it's really impressive. I'm curious about the move into the medical industry, like portion of the industry, and any sort of regulatory considerations that are going to need to be made in order to move into that. Can you expand on that at all?
Yeah, so the medical side, it's actually the same. What Health Canada is trying to do is they're trying to shut down the legacy medical system that exists today and force everybody into the new regulatory system that we are involved with. So the writing's kind of on the wall. That's going to happen, and we want to ensure that medical patients have consistent access to high quality craft cannabis. As the cannabis regulations have evolved and as this new world of cannabis has been realized and implemented, unfortunately, medical patients have been completely screwed over. The governments all across the board seem to be focused solely on recreational cannabis, like most provincial governments who are in charge, they're like gatekeepers for the supply chain that control the flow of cannabis to retailers. They won't purchase anything that's less than 20% THC, which is super up. It's as if an alcohol store only exclusively buying hard liquor, not carrying any wine, not carrying any beer. And so there's a lot of challenges there, but we're already fully integrated into the regulatory framework that this medical sales marketplace would need. And yeah, we're building the features needed for that because there's a lot of issues today that would be solved by such a marketplace.
Awesome. Okay, how about over to Tyler from Rice & Co.
Thanks, Sammy. Great presentation and great to see the success that your company's achieved in this short time, and especially the application that you've had since the last presentation.
Thanks,
With
Tyler.
regards to the legacy market, the craft growers that haven't converted yet, how do you penetrate that market? How do you get their attention and market your platform and encourage conversion from the legacy market to the legitimate market for those growers?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, what it really comes down to is that it's just too hard. Like in the Kootenays, for example, I think it was Community Futures that did this research maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. There's about 3,000 operations in the local area. 2,500 of them had a medical license, and 2,000 of that 2,500 wanted to transition. Since then, only 30 or 40 have, and it's not a lack of desire. It's way too hard. So we're taking kind of a 3-pronged approach overall with CertiCraft. We started with a compliance platform which solves the single biggest barrier, the single biggest challenge. We're now moving on to this medical sales platform which solves the next biggest challenge, which is the economic viability, the financial viability of making this happen. That marketplace would cut out 2 to 4 middlemen between Kootenay-based micros, any micro in the legacy space, and their end consumer, which means they can actually make profit margins that make sense and allow them to thrive. And the last prong would be making it really easy to get licensed. And then that would solve the 3 big barriers that we have the ability to solve, and creates an all-in-one seamless, essentially turnkey solution minus the actual physical build, which is one remaining barrier, but it becomes a lot less daunting when that's the only barrier that remains. So that's kind of the overall approach that we are taking at CertiCraft. Is that clear? Do you want?
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. All right, good answer, Sammy. How about over to Beck from Traction on Demand?
Hey, Sammy. In your presentation, you talked about an 11-to-1 lifetime value to customer acquisition cost, which is really great. And one of the things you spoke about is that a lot of that is due to word of mouth and folks sharing things with other craft growers. Recently, you said that you invested in more of like a content marketing engine. How do you see that potentially influencing that number over time? Do you see that you're going to need to like invest more costs into advertising to get in front of other audiences? How do you see that number changing over time?
That's a great question. So the content marketing campaign has been done on a shoestring budget. So we have a very, very, very low sales and marketing cost right now. We would like to have it no longer be on a shoestring budget. We'd like to see, we've been very creative in terms of the kind of content that we put out there and actually creating value for our niche. And part of what this raise would be going towards is in actually being able to have a more serious budget to really flex that muscle. In terms of how it would change the ratio, I'm not sure if the ratio would change at all, because we'd be greatly increasing the marketing spend, but also presumably, and no way to know for sure without it actually happening, increasing the number of sales that we're making as a result of the marketing spend. But yeah, there's too many unknown variables for me to give you like anything more than just what ultimately is just a guesstimate.
Yeah, no worries. I'm a big advocate for marketing, given that's my background. So like, I'm just seeing that number go up. So don't worry, Sammy.
Great. I'm glad to hear that, Beck. Thanks for your words of support there.
No worries.
All right. How about over to Dave from NRC IRAP? Watch out, Sammy. This guy signs big checks for you.
Hi, Dave.
Well, I guess I do now. Yeah, I'm new to the program, but yeah, totally. And I think my biggest curiosity would be around that kind of dark market. And so you're making a claim of a 60% conversion rate, which means you've seen 70 companies reach out to you, and 42 have converted. But you're talking about a huge market. Like there's like 10,000 plus craft growers in this space. What do you think the barrier is to bring those companies into the light, and how are they incented to stay in the dark? Like, do they make more money in the illegit market? Like what is keeping them there, and how can you bring them out? That's my question.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, there's a couple. So first off, to your earlier point, I just want to clarify something that I didn't say in the presentation, but probably should have, is the leads that I'm referring to are qualified leads. So it's not every single person that reaches out to us. It's the people who actually have the ability to use our system and are legitimately interested in it and considering it. So there is, if we're considering anybody that reaches out to us, which includes people who are just thinking about getting a license and just want to talk to us, then that number goes down significantly. So qualified leads is what that is. To your second question. Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge has been solved, which is the compliance. Right now, the biggest thing that really is a problem is the supply chain. We have various provincial distribution boards that control the flow of products. And they don't understand cannabis. They don't have a background in it. And they've kind of treated it like alcohol, because it's always been the liquor distribution boards that have done it. But there's huge differences between the two worlds. For one, alcohol is shelf stable. So it doesn't matter if you have a thing sitting in a warehouse for 2 years, 5 years, it's still going to be just fine. In fact, for a lot of alcohols, it's a desirable thing because it's aging as long as it's kept properly in there. Whereas cannabis is an agricultural product. Likewise, in alcohol, the SKUs never change. It's always the same thing. In cannabis, every batch is different. Likewise, in alcohol, there's ultimately 6 large conglomerates that are the sellers to the BCLDB and the other distribution boards. Cannabis, there's now hundreds of different sellers. So there's just been a huge learning curve and a lot of missteps and mistakes that have been made. And ultimately, it's come down to really hurt the growers. They are getting the shaft above all else. And that's one of the biggest things that's keeping a lot of people from transitioning, because they're like, well, why would I spend all this time and money to transition? I have to spend like between $200,000 to $500,000 just to be able to apply for a license. Might still get rejected. And I'd do it if there was a very clear path to success, but there isn't, which is why we're really focusing on that medical sales marketplace next, so that we can create a real solution for getting your product to your consumers at profit margins that are not only viable, but can allow you to thrive. So it really is a matter of economics, in my opinion.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, that's good. Thanks. I think we're going over time. So.
Sorry, I can talk for a long time about this stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, Sammy.
Awesome work, Sammy. Thanks for keeping it real, buddy. Thanks for your time. Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope you have a great rest of this competition.
Wow, great pitch, Sammy. Congrats on hitting those revenue numbers. You might notice that I'm sitting on the couch in the beautiful Nelson Innovation Center. Melanie, can you tell us a little bit about how this inspiring place came to be?
Of course, Steve. So the NIC is a community hub for entrepreneurs and businesses to connect with one another and get the support that they need through programming and referral services to take their businesses to a new level. We've pivoted to virtual networking during the pandemic, but a major next step for CAST is reopening these doors and holding in-person events. So the NIC was the brainchild of CAST, but it wouldn't have happened without the support of our amazing community partners: the City of Nelson, Community Futures, the Nelson Chamber of Commerce, RDCK, Etsy BC, Western Diversification, and of course, the grassroots effort from our local tech community. I also want to say, to all the kids out there dreaming that one day you'll be pitching your grand idea, CAST also leads the Kootenay Contraption Contest for students in kindergarten to grade 8 to imagine, design, and illustrate a contraption that solves a problem. This year's problem is related to climate change. This program, generously sponsored by Fortis BC, is ongoing now through the end of November, and information can be found on our website, www.cast.com/KCC.
Thanks, Melanie. I'd like to give a big shout out to another one of our sponsors, Traction on Demand, who is the world's largest Salesforce consulting and application firm. As a certified B Corp, they've been named a top 10 workplace in Canada, and it was founded by Nelson's own Greg Malpass. With thousands of happy customers, Traction is enabling organizations and enriching our communities. Not to mention the always fantastic Kootenay Co-op, who is helping to build a thriving community with resilient food systems where all people have access to affordable food that is healthy for our bodies, our communities, and the earth. Also, I have to thank our judge, Dave Damer from NRC IRAP, who is a pillar of the Kootenay tech scene and also supports the Venture Acceleration Program here at CAST. All 3 of our finalists have come through the VAP program. And if you are a budding tech entrepreneur, this is the program for you. Hey, have you missed the previous 3 episodes of the Kootenay Pitch Competition? Well, you can watch all of them by heading over to the CAST Facebook or YouTube page. Our handle is @CASTInnovation. Now, we're on to our 3rd and final contestant, Kyle Hamilton of Sucre Interactive, based in Fernie. I asked Kyle about working with CAST. Here are his thoughts. So tell me, Kyle, you've been working with CAST for a while now through our Venture Acceleration Program. How's that experience and that work with CAST helped your company?
Working with CAST as part of the Venture Acceleration Program has been absolutely invaluable to us as our company. Our EIRs have been fantastic. It's really helped keep us focused. It's really helped us ensure that we're spending our time efficiently and wisely. It's also been a great networking opportunity, and our EIRs have really helped connect us to different organizations, government funding bodies, etc., as well as introducing us to potential customers and other individuals who might have some expertise or some background in our industry, and really just helped us grow our network. I don't think I would start another tech company in the Kootenays without being a part of CAST VAP.
Wow, that's great. Thanks. Yeah, I always like the adage, if it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a network to start a company.
Totally, 100%.
Thanks, Kyle. His company, Sucre Interactive, is changing the way we train for high-risk work environments. Utilizing the latest in virtual reality technologies and data capture through wearable sensors, Sucre develops a scalable, repeatable training scenarios for situations where learning by mistake has catastrophic consequences. I've seen Kyle and his team evolve this idea into a real-world solution that blends the highest of high-tech with the rough and tumble reality of the mining industry. This is a company to watch for sure. Over to you, Kyle.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kyle, and I'm here to tell you about Sucre Interactive Technologies, an immersive learning platform for high-risk work environments. 3 years ago, we lost a friend in a tragic mining accident. No one should ever not come home from work. Imagine a future where you can repeat a high-risk task multiple times without the risk of catastrophic consequences, where you can prepare and train with lifelike fidelity for those situations that you hope will never happen. Visualization and simulation training techniques and technologies are not new, but to date, they've really been reserved for pilots, the military, and high-performance athletes. Sucre intends to change that and bring this technology to a much larger workforce. In 2019, BC experienced 203 workplace-related deaths. Of these, 140 were accepted as WorkSafe BC claims, paying out over $1.3 billion. Globally, approximately 4% of GDP is impacted by lost time injuries every single year. According to insurer J&H Marsh & McLellan, 42% of unplanned operation shutdowns are the result of operator error, and the average cost of a major industrial accident exceeds 80 million US dollars. Current workplace training programs have lagged advances in pedagogy and training. The problem with training individuals, especially for high-risk work environments, using current techniques are that they are typically theoretical knowledge. They really lack hands-on engagement and situational awareness. They're very time-intensive and difficult to replicate. And they're often constrained to specific locations and/or individual schedules. And lastly, they're not scalable. In addition, many industries have gaps in their consistency of training delivery. Most organizations lack procedures for developing institutional memories, and such that when a top employee or a high-level trainer departs, so too does their knowledge. These knowledge management issues are something many organizations face. Sucre's solution solves these issues. And when scaled, our service is cheaper, more effective, and provides better learning outcomes. Our solution is deployed in businesses where learning by mistake has catastrophic consequences. We recreate high-risk work sites in immersive digital environments that can be experienced wearing a head-mounted display unit, also known as VR goggles. Close calls in these immersive realms create visceral memories that will not be repeated in real life. VR is really the closest thing to hands-on experience for learning new tasks that you can do, but it has the added benefit of reducing the risk to not just the learner, but also their trainers. The data shows that its benefit over current classroom methodologies is exceptional. In addition, running training scenarios using these new technologies really allows us to capture previously unavailable data on individuals and teams, such as reaction times, eye movements, skin conductivity, and other biometric data, using sensors that are embedded in the headsets or in wearable devices. Then, using these data points, our analytics platform can assess an individual's cognitive loads, their stress levels, their environmental awareness, where they're looking, and from that, able to assess and predict their competency for a situation. Once we know this, we can share that, and learning plans and work placements can be tailored and adapted to ensure better outcomes, not just for the employee, but also for managers and corporate shareholders. In 2019, the global training market was pegged at roughly $370 billion. The virtual reality market in 2020 grew to $15.81 billion from just $10.3 billion the year before, and it's expected to continue to grow at a 21% compounded annual growth rate through to 2028. The companies that we've spoken to in our customer discovery are just now starting to realize the benefits and values of shifting their training over to these new technologies and integrating VR into all aspects of training. We expect over the next 36 to 48 months to tap a global market of $10 to $20 million in sales, with potential, should COVID restrictions return, of $3 to $5 million in Western Canada alone. So to launch, we're really focusing on high-risk work environments and safety training for these scenarios, with an emphasis in mining. Our team's experience and skill set was chosen specifically for this task. And with our proximity to mine sites here in the Elk Valley and up through BC and Alberta, we feel we're emphasizing this heavy industry. The competitor that we see as our biggest threat is Striver. They've recently completed a Series B round at $30 million. And they're already working with clients such as BMW, Verizon, and Walmart. From everything that we can see, they don't work in high-risk environments, and we plan to capitalize on this to grow ourselves over the coming 24, 36 months, and really feel that this growth will position us as the dominant player for immersive experience training for high-risk environments, thus making us an acquisition target for either a competitor looking to expand or potentially a customer who's looking to secure this competitive advantage for themselves. So our technology currently utilizes off-the-shelf tools in order to keep our operating costs low and allow us to really dynamically meet the needs of our customers' requirements. As we grow and scale, the data points that we capture from the user experiences will really help us inform the AI that we're developing to provide predictive insights into clients' workforces. This will allow them to make sure that they're hiring the right people, they're training their staff to a higher level of competency, and really helping them develop an institutional memory of accidents and near misses, as well as all the other best practices that they can learn from their current staff. So our revenue model is really two-pronged. The first stream is in developing customized environments for specific work sites. Utilizing generic content for training modules for high-risk applications is impractical. These scenarios require location-specific environments, and these environments oftentimes require specialized training and equipment just to be able to enter and capture environmental data. Our team of safety-trained content creators are able to work with safety departments and training departments to securely and safely enter these hazardous environments to capture all the required information and data. Secondly is the ongoing licensing of the AI platform with analytics and user dashboard. We intend to make this a tiered approach to provide metrics and analysis on a scalable basis that's going to best meet our customers' needs as they evolve. So our projected revenues are based around an average client project costing $600,000. And as we successfully complete additional environmental creation projects, we're then able to start boosting up the licensing revenues. So to date, we have completed a proof of concept that led to the request for a very large paid pilot project proposal. We're currently actively negotiating both the scope and the timeline of it. But really our next steps in getting to market and validating what we're proposing is undertaking more R&D of our algorithm to really better understand how the biometrics and the cognitive sciences relate from the virtual world into real world performance, so that we can improve the AI accuracy. And in tandem, we are working to complete a V2 prototype that will aid us in our sales and marketing efforts and really help us validate this technology in our customers' eyes. So as I mentioned earlier, we put together this team because of everybody's specific skills. Myself, I'm taking the corporate and investor relations lead. I'm a serial entrepreneur with over a decade of content creation experience. Jude Smith is another serial entrepreneur and close friend. He's got a depth of business and sales experience both here and in the UK. Alex Hansen is our mining lead. He's mine safety, certified blaster, mine rescue leader, previously worked as lead incident investigator. As well, he's a top-notch content creator. Phil Williams is our computer science and cybersecurity lead. He's actually previously successfully exited a VR startup in the UK called 3D VR. And lastly, Paul von Wittgenstein is our training and education lead. He brings to the table over 3 decades of experience, including work in Asia as the founder of the Canada Management Development Limited company. So our ask today is for $250,000 in the form of a SAFE. We will be using these funds for R&D to develop and refine our AI, cover the legal costs for patent applications and IP protection, as well as really develop this V2 prototype environment so that we can use it in marketing and sales purposes. And just want to leave you with the thought that investing in Sucre now is really an investment in a smarter and safer workforce tomorrow.
Thanks, Kyle. That was a beautiful presentation. Okay, over to our judges for some questions. How about we start off with Tiffany from Selkirk College?
Hi, Kyle. Good to see you again.
You as well.
I was curious if you could expand on what you see the barriers are for Striver to get into the high risk market, if you see them as your largest competitor. What are the barriers to getting them into the?
Really, the biggest barrier to getting into the high risk scenario is actually having the skill set to enter high risk scenarios. The amount of time and training that it takes to safely enter a scenario, let alone to be able to bring content capture equipment like LiDAR scanners, cameras, all that stuff, can take years.
Okay, thanks.
Excellent. Okay, how about over to Henry from Kootenay Capital?
Thanks, Steve. Hi, Kyle. I've enjoyed sort of watching your progress over the past year, I guess it is. And so, but it only struck me tonight. I wonder, because of the long sales cycle on this high risk work environment thing, which I think is from an investment perspective, it's a narrow niche, right? It's a specialty niche. The question hit me tonight for the first time in a long time. Is your business really an immersive learning business as opposed to an immersive learning business that works in high risk environments? Like, should you not maybe, or have you considered, I guess I'll ask it that way, have you considered becoming a broader based training immersive learning business with specialty in a number of industries?
We certainly have considered that, but what we're really focusing on, so that we're not spreading ourselves too thin, is on this one segment. And once we've made a name for ourselves, established a reputation in this segment, then we fully intend to expand into other applications.
Okay, so it's a first step in your process.
Definitely.
Yeah. So not to repeat myself, but I'm just wondering if investors might actually want you to hurry up on that point and sort of skip this first step because of the long sales cycle. But anyway, thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
Awesome. How about over to Nate from Greenlight Solutions?
Thanks, Steve. And thanks, Kyle. Great presentation. Maybe just help me out here. Maybe you could just summarize what your secret sauce is.
Really, it's kind of a combination of the ability to enter these high risk work scenarios, to really understand exactly what's happening, assess from our perspective any gaps that might be happening in the training as it's being rolled out, but then also in the AI and in the back end data analysis of how people are going through these scenarios and how we can help companies improve their training and improve their work placements based on an individual's actual biometric response to it.
Thank you.
Awesome. How about Sue from Futurepreneur? Oh, Sue, I see you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Nice presentation, Kyle. I think I'm hoping to maybe have you dive a bit deeper into a little bit around what Henry was asking, in the sense that I'm wondering what you perceive your biggest obstacle to be in getting that market validation.
So the biggest hurdle to date has really been in being able to access a high-risk site to create an environment that we can utilize in sales and marketing. No major company wants a startup coming in, taking a whole bunch of pictures of what's happening on the inside, and then turning around and going to their competitors and using that environment. So that has been the biggest hurdle to date. I think we've crossed that hurdle, and very quickly should have the bulk of the V2 prototype ready to rock and roll, I guess.
Awesome. How about over to Tyler from Rice & Co?
Thanks, Kyle. Great presentation, and very interesting to see the progress that you've made. You highlighted Striver as your nearest competitor with the Series B round, as well as another team member within your organization having successfully exited a VR company with the transaction. Can you speak to, one, the M&A, the mergers and acquisitions actively in this space? And then two, the bolt-on capability of your organization if somebody, a suitor, was to come and take a look at your organization.
Sorry, I didn't catch the second part.
If a organization was to look to acquire Sucre, how easily are you to be a bolt-on to that organization?
Well, to answer the first question about the M&A activity, I haven't seen a whole lot of M&A activity recently in it. A couple of years ago, there was a bunch, and then the last 2 years really I haven't seen a lot. As far as the bolt-on aspect of it, it would really depend on who the potential acquirer was. If we were a large mining organization, or being interested or scouted by a large mining organization, we could jump right in with their training and safety departments to implement this across their organization. If it was another company, competitor, tough to really say off the top of my head without knowing what that company's strengths or weaknesses are.
Thank you.
All right, how about over to Dave from NRC IRAP?
Hey, Kyle. Great job. Good to see you again. Wanted to ask, essentially on the market kind of validation side, based on the number of incidents you see per year in market, how are you going to kind of determine your ability to reduce the number of incidents or defer that to kind of pose a return on investment position to potential customers?
Yeah, so obviously incidents are tough to really quantify and qualify the cause and effect from a training perspective. However, where we really see some value is in just making sure that people are being better trained, being able to actually quantify and track an individual's training and step-by-step process in a given scenario will help ensure companies that those potentially catastrophic errors don't occur on site in real life.
Thanks.
I have a question, Kyle. I see you competed in the New Ventures BC competition. How did that go for your company?
That was great. It was a fantastic experience. We made it through to the top 15, which was, kind of better, a lot better than I think we were expecting we would do, but we certainly were hoping to make it through to the top 10 after we'd made it to the top 15. Unfortunately, we didn't make it that far, but the amount of knowledge and just the experience of working with a different group of advisors, investors, etc., definitely helped refine both our pitch, but also a lot of our business direction.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you had that opportunity. Okay, I see a question from my friend Henry.
Thanks, Steve. And so, Kyle, it occurred to me that last time we saw you, there was a question that someone raised about getting into the corner office, the C-suite, to get decision makers to, be very aware of what you're doing. What's happened in that area since the last time we saw you?
So since last time we have spoken, we have had a couple different conversations with a couple different mining companies, getting in with a couple C-suite level executives. I'm not really sure how much to divulge as far as who the specifics are at this stage or in this format, but certainly a couple multinational mining companies in gold and other minerals, as well. We last time we talked, if I recall correctly, our approach was C-suites as well as training departments, and so we've also been having a couple of more conversations with various training departments and working through the organizations to find the right fit within the training department, as well as a lot of these multinational mining companies have kind of their future vision organization and have had conversations with that level as well.
So does it mean that it sounds like you're able to penetrate more or better, but it's also wider. It's not just, more, I guess I was going to say deeper, but higher in the organization, but also wider. Is that what you're telling us?
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, we're definitely trying to tackle as many different avenues and make as many different connections and relationships as possible, because as you say, it is a long sales cycle.
Got it. Good. Thank you.
Okay, well, time's up there, Kyle. Thanks for coming out and great work.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, great to hear the progress. Thanks, Kyle.
Have a good night.
Great work, Kyle. That backdrop was sweet. I would also like to thank the folks over at the Columbia Lake Technology Center, where they create space for technology and traditional industry to collide, creating solutions to the local and global challenges. The CLTC provides on-site infrastructure expertise to support new businesses and provides community support for resident attraction through initiatives such as donating land for a daycare and building out amenities within the area. Wow, what a night. I'd like to personally thank all the competitors and acknowledge all the hard work that they put into this event and their businesses. You all did an amazing job. Now, we're going to hear from the judges about each of these three brave entrepreneurs. First up, Sue Ross from Futurepreneur with the panel's thoughts on Sacral Solutions.
Hi, Adele. Thanks so much for presenting again. It was great to see you and to notice the hard work and forward movement that you've had over the past few months. We really appreciate how you've been able to thoroughly research and get really focused on a very narrow specific market to really help validate the need for the product and to be able to take that forward as you continue to grow. We've seen a lot of progress with regards to the medical applications, the level of medical application that you've been able to achieve, which is going to be really helpful in making it a more accessible product for your target market. Some things to keep in mind and some considerations as you move forward would be, how might you get more clarity on the team execution side of things? So how can you more clearly define the roles of your team members, and what considerations do you need to make in order to onboard some really key team members to help you mobilize the work that you're doing and the impact that you're trying to create? Another thing to consider might be around how to streamline the focus that you have on your target market to maybe laser focus in on the B2B market to leverage higher margins rather than spreading yourself too thin across multiple target markets. And there may be an opportunity as well to more clearly articulate your pricing through some of that great storytelling that you were presenting us at the beginning of your presentation as well. Overall, fantastic presentation, and we wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thanks, Sue. Next, we have Nate Kube from Greenlight Solutions with some feedback for CertiCraft.
Sammy, great presentation this evening. We really appreciated it. Great progress from last time. It was nice to see. Couple quick questions that we found that we'd like to see a little bit more from. So it was great that you ended with an ask. Always good to end with an ask. What we'd like to see going forward, though, is just a little bit more description around what you do with that ask. So with the $750,000, you're looking to procure an investment. What do you hope to achieve with that, and what are you going to do with that money? So that left us wondering. Second thing we'd really like to see kind of going forward. The customer base that you've been able to procure is awesome. The traction you're getting is fantastic. I think one of the barriers that would be helpful to consider is the activities and the type of investment your customers need to make before they can become one of your customers. We think there's some more to unpack there, and to really kind of get some figures and stats around how many micros there will be moving forward and how quick they'll come online. In terms of kind of overall presentation, fantastic. We love the energy, we love the excitement. I think there is tremendous market opportunity in the transaction side of the business as well. And I know you're starting to unpack that. Cannabis sales are moving up dramatically, and I think you're well positioned to execute in there. So thank you, great work, awesome presentation. Appreciate the effort.
That was great, Nate. Now over to Paul Broussard from Volition Advisors with some words of wisdom for Sucre Interactive.
Hey, Kyle, just wanted to express my best wishes. You did a great job, and I'm so glad to see you chugging along and working to make this business work. The one thing I would really encourage you to do, and the group that we would like to encourage you to do, is just to make sure you dig in and do that market validation, that customer validation, really get into that. It might be a little bit of a gut check moment. Sometimes these things are hard to admit, but I think probably the sooner the better that you can validate that customer, validate that market, find a paying customer as fast as you can. I know we all want that, I get it. But really, you might even have to consider widening your funnel of who you consider. I know you and I have talked about frontline workers and some other opportunities as well. So, I'd really encourage you to dig in. I think you've really got the bones and a great idea, great concept, but I think it's gut check time to prove it out. So I wish you all the best of luck, and yeah, certainly we're all here to support you.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Okay, and now the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's jump back into a meeting with the three entrepreneurs to announce the winner. Wow, great night, everybody. I'm so proud of seeing what you guys have done with your companies over the past year, and so happy to be able to work with you guys. Really impressive progress. And it's really hard to be the CEO of a startup. So I'm just super proud of what you guys have done, and the fact that you're all still standing here and smiles on your face. I think it's amazing. Okay, so the judges, really, it took them a while. They really had to spend a lot of time deliberating and discussing each of your businesses. And I know it was tough decisions for them, but they all made their scores, and we now have a final winner. Okay, the winner of the 2021 Kootenay Pitch Competition is CertiCraft.
Woohoo! Hey, thanks you guys, and congrats to everybody who's part of this, Kyle and Adele. I know
Congrats,
you guys
Sammy.
run kick-ass businesses, and yeah.
Sign off, right?
Thanks, Steve.
Right on. Okay. All right, Sammy. Well done. Like I said, super proud of what you've done with your company. It's been amazing to watch you go. So how does it feel to be the winner of the Kootenay Pitch Competition?
I just want to dance, man. It feels great. Yeah, I feel a lot of joy inside right now, and yeah, excited that we're being recognized by at the very least this panel of judges that was here.
Awesome. Okay, what's next for you and your company?
It's realizing that raise. We've delayed raising capital a few times because we've always had other higher priorities, and most recently getting the hires that we needed for our team to actually reach the development capacity that we needed. And everything now is set in place outside of adding more fuel to our engine so we can accelerate and hit profitability faster. So yeah, my next few months is really just focused on raising that capital, where we used this competition as a way to like really light a fire under our ass and like get a good pitch together
Awesome. Really well done. Investors, take notice. Sammy's ready for your checks.
Yeah, that's right, investors. I'm ready for your checks.
All right. Have a good night, Sammy. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Steve. Really appreciate you and your hard work that you and Karen put into this thing. And yeah, it's been a really fun experience this past year going through this Kootenay Pitch Competition, and I hope it happens again. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors, judges, competitors, and especially you viewers at home. It's people like yourselves that make the Kootenays such an amazing place to live as a tech entrepreneur. From all of us at CAS, thank you again, and good night, everybody.
Pat.